Maldamba OP. Ceres, best healer. Ying, she's my waifu. But you all may be barking up the wrong tree if you're forgetting the big log himself, Grover. That's right, the Blessed Church of Grover may have just reopened its doors. Or have they been open all along? Let's talk about Grover and see where he could go, where he is currently, and what holds him back. As you all may be aware, in OB53, Grover was given a plethora of buffs. As with, every other character, basically. Except Evie, who is a dead character now. Or wait, maybe she's twice as good. Wait, nobody knows. Although many of the OB53 changes are out and the verdict is not back in yet, of course it won't be until the patch gets a lot of play, pro players get their opinions, and everybody starts to get a feel for these new champions, Grover is one that I think steals the limelight in terms of what has happened to his kit. If you're not familiar with it, let's go over the changes right now very quickly to catch you up to date on OB53 Grover and start the conversation as to why and if these changes could be the big breaking point Grover needs to become a meta healer. By the way, everybody, thank you so much for being a part of the channel. I just want to say thank you if you're watching, if you're liking, if you're sharing and subscribing, that it all makes such a big difference in the growing community. That is Rainstorm right here. That's all of you. So keep on doing what you're doing. I love you. Now back to the rather unjustifiable irony that is Grover, a tree that throws axes. Let's get into the changes for OB53. First, the throwing axe. That's right, the axe that just makes him a staple image for a lot of players in Paladins, has seen an increased projectile speed from 230 to 350. Now Grover's also seen a reduced damage scaling value from 200% bonus to 150% bonus. Wait, is this a buff or a nerf? I don't know. I'm not done yet. Damage scaling max has also been reduced from 300 to 250. All in all, what this means is that Grover's projectiles will travel very, very fast, almost 30% faster than they did before, meaning that they won't attack at a faster rate. You won't be able to throw them any faster out of your hand, but when they do leave your hand, they will be more accurate as to the direction and I guess the location that you wanted them to end up in at the first place, giving people less time to react. As a result, his damage scaling has been adjusted, but by reducing the amount of maximum damage and also reducing the maximum range, you're basically saying that I can hit my hardest from a little bit shorter away, although I won't be able to hit as hard as I did before. For example, if somebody is standing 1,000 feet away and I could hit them for 1,000 at max damage bonus scaling, now I'll only be able to hit them for a max of 750, but I'll be able to do that from closer than before. Alright, so let's break this down. Although this can seem like a negative thing for Grover when he's trying to get buffed, it really may not be that bad. People asking me, Raynday, what does this really mean? Here's how I like to look at it. Okay, so Ceres, her Mortal Reach Legendary, gives her 300 feet on her Restore Soul. In practical use, you will never not be able to heal someone as long as they are in your line of sight. Now with Grover, having scaling for axes that far didn't make much sense because, you were never hitting that max damage axe. You were always getting close, maybe 70%, but never hitting that max damage. So it's essentially like wasted damage. Now bringing that cap down might mean that he gets closer to the 80, 90, maybe even 100% hitting the full max damage axe, but it will do just a little bit less bonus damage. So it's a decent trade-off and may actually serve just to be a good quality of life feature and maybe help his overall damage throughout a game. Now moving on to his next ability, Crippling Throw. This saw an increase in damage from 300 to 400, and it also saw an increase in projectile speed again from 230 to 350, just about 30%. Crippling Throw is a huge part of Grover's kit. Whether you take Deep Roots or not, which is the favored Paladins Esport legendary, it is very important to be able to apply that cripple and apply it successfully to the target you are trying to apply it to. If it's a Maeve and she's jumping around, having that extra speed means you're going to get more cripples over the course of a game, and having the extra damage on top of that means you're going to have more damage you're contributing to a fight. It also may not be a lot. 100 damage is not the most, but hey, 100 health matters, right? That's why we have cards that allow you to increase your health to 100 to 200. Sometimes it is the make or break damage that secures a kill onto an opponent, and having 400 to initiate the fight, lock them down with a cripple, or root them with the Deep Roots legendary could be a really big boon for Grover. A small one, but big over the course of a game. Finally, the big change here is that his ultimate now grants CC immunity, and they fixed a bug where Whirlwind could not be canceled, meaning that he can cancel the Whirlwind, and now he is not going to be able to be moved to be evil mojoed during this ultimate. Considering this ultimate falls off late game so hard as a result of Cauterize, it is very important that it has this CC immunity to provide at least a repositioning opportunity for Grover. To me, this is a really good change and maybe a really strong change as well. Just the fact that you're able to cancel your ultimate and go into it for CC immunity has a lot of implications. You talk about a King Bump, you talk about a Grumpy Bomb, you talk about a Seismic Crash, you talk about a Dread Serpent, right? Being able to anticipate that, go into your ult, and then when it's done, when the stun's over, pop right back out, start playing, cripple somebody, throw a big axe downtown, down and get the kill, that is a big game-changing opportunity that Grover now has. So Raynday, as we've discussed what has happened to Grover, let's take a look at what is going to happen now in OB53. My friend, to see where you're going, you must also know where you have been and know where you are as well. I guess you gotta just look around you and you know, kind of know where your next step is. And it is true, you need to know where you are in the meta, and Grover right now is not a fan favorite in terms of the meta. He doesn't get played very often, and when he does get played, he is, you know, admittedly not as effective as a Maldamba, a Seris, a Ying in terms of main healing a team. This is again speaking from a Paladins esports perspective. Grover at low levels, because of the lack of Cauterize and Wrecker prioritized at those skill levels, and I guess knowledge levels and experience levels of the game, is a lot stronger, as you would expect. Grover right now serves the purpose of being kind of a pocket pick healer, right? You can bring out a strategy, you can bring out a comp that highlights Grover, that allows him to compete, and he does do some things very well. For instance, his damage from range can also be great poke pressure onto a Kinessa, a sniper. He's one of the only supports that can deal with long-range champions like Shaolin, like Kinessa, like I mentioned, like Victor, and force them away from their perches. Good luck hitting a snake spit all the way across the map on Frozen Guard trying to pressure out a Kinessa. I mean, it's just not going to happen very often. Pip can do it, but he's got to go flank for his team, and you know how much everybody loves Pip when he's flanking. Grover's range is admittedly one of his strongest aspects, but he also brings a lot of control to the fight, whereas Pip brings the explosive flash, you see Maldamba bring the ripened gourd. Grover can go one up and actually root a single opponent in place. This should almost guarantee a kill as much as a dredge anchor does from Makoa. Combining this with a Makoa means you can hook them and then root them immediately with a coordinated healer and tank and just take them down before they have a chance to respond. It turns it into a 5v4 and you should win that engagement. So if you have somebody you want to lock down and focus down and you have a lot of damage that can back it up, Grover could be a great pocket pick there. It just depends. As you can see, Grover has a lot of niche applications, but when it comes to healing your team overall, he largely gets countered as a result of Cauterize. Since his healing is basically a result of him and his big body and being close to it, it's a really easy target to hit with that anti-healing item, and that results in him losing about 90% of his total healing efficacy towards the later ends of the game, especially in his ultimate. For this reason, we don't usually see Grovers get into the 70s to 100,000s of healing, whereas we see Maldamba, Ying, Seris constantly hit over the 100k mark. The big reason Grover is also just a pocket pick is because he has localized healing, whereas a lot of healers can stay out of the fight, stay in a position they feel comfortable or safe, and maybe out of the way of Cauterize as well. Grover has to actually be near the fight, engaged with his tanks and healing anybody who is taking damage to keep them alive. The issue is, when you're taking damage, you're probably Cauterized, so his healing is less effective just by a fact of how he has to heal and when he has to do it. Despite that though, he does have good mobility, and on maps like Serpent Beach, which require verticality, or where verticality is kind of king in terms of your picks, Grover could definitely make a comeback and be viable in terms of being able to get in and get out of the fight, hide behind corners, hide above, you know, stay off the Cauterize 1.5 second duration, and then heal somebody up. But gosh, that sounds like a lot of work. Ugh. It does, and it is. But maybe it's a lot of fun too. Going into the OB53 changes, and what I think could make Grover maybe a superstar here in this upcoming patch is the fact that most players have remarked on this change the most. Most people from the community, whether it's a YouTuber, whether it's a pro player, has talked about how much they love Grover now, and I get it. Grover is a lot of fun, especially with the change to eliminations and how that helped to increase his efficacy in terms of cooldown reduction. Being an ability kind of based champion, it really does allow him to find some strengths and moments that he wasn't finding them as frequently. I was playing against Vex and Cuss Cutie today, two pros in our North American scene who play at the highest level, and that Grover that Vex was playing did 77,000 damage to me and seemed like he was having a blast. This guy contributes a ton of damage on the map, more so probably than Ying, Maldamba, and Seris. And if you can get away with the healing and win early, Grover could be a great pick for your composition. Maps like Frog Isle or Jaguar Falls that can support a team in snowballing and ending a fight quickly, Grover could be a beast considering his healing is very good before it gets Cauterized. You add the damage on top of that and the control and he may just have a place. But because he will never be statistically as good a healer in terms of raw healing output as these other champions, with the way Cauterize is in our game, there's got to be another reason for pros to invest in playing him. And the big kind of, I guess, statement I'm making in this video is that I think people want to play him. I think they have fun playing Grover, and they're going to want to see if he works. Now, Raynday, are you saying Grover is going to get into the meta not because he's better than any other healer, but because he's just fun? That doesn't make any sense. I agree. I don't think it makes sense for just being fun, but I'm thinking everything is maybe conspiring for the tree this time, the big log, to maybe have his day in the light. Consider the fact that Grover has these buffs and clearly is, I think from a perceptual standpoint, gotten better, right? That's one of the first keys for pros to take a look, because you know your opponent's going to be trying this newly buffed champion, so you have to as well. If you find success, you start thinking of comps that will work. It starts a snowball. As you scrim other teams who are playing Grover and winning, you start to see, hey, maybe we need our Grover. We need to get some Grover compositions, and you start to look around drafts around that. I currently think that Willow is a character that could receive this treatment. If Willow was treated like a Drogoz or like a Bomb King and actually played with consistency by high-level teams, I think she would translate into the meta very well. But we've only seen one team and one player consistently use Willow and then dropped off the face of the earth using that champion. The captain of Gangstar's, Bird, who streams and also makes content for Paladins, makes a weekly tier list, and a lot of the times he'll talk about champions that he feels could have potential, but no one has got the gall, the cojones, right? The balls, right? To play these champions and show what they can do. And until that happens, it's just going to be potential, and you cannot necessarily hope or practice or plan winning an invitational tournament with $100,000 on the line for just potential. My whole point is that as we move into OB53, this potential may actually be turning into something concrete. Players may be playing Grover a lot more and trying out strategies that could support a lineup where Grover is included. Does he have enough damage? Does he have enough raw healing to ever compete with a top tier healer in terms of raw output like Maldamba or Ying? That verdict may still be out. Grover's got a long way away from being a main only healer on your team, and picking up two healers, that meta hasn't really gone well in Paladins thus far, but I'm not saying that it can't. One day, we will obviously see trendsetters change the mold, but right now, the top teams have the choices in their hands. So let's talk about your hands. What do you think about Grover? Will he see a rise to fame in OB53, and will all of the Realmians be bowing down? Get it? Bow? Tree bow? Okay, never mind. I want to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments section below. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. If you enjoyed this video, please stay tuned, subscribe, like it, again, share it with your friends, and engage in a conversation. I'll be reading all the comments, and definitely want to hear your thoughts about Grover in this next patch. I should have a video coming out about the healers in Paladins tomorrow, so if you want to get my thoughts on who takes the #1 spot in healer and who comes in at the worst, definitely go ahead and follow me and stay tuned for tomorrow's vid. As always, remember to never give up, never stop gaming, and I'll see you all next time.